Hey there, Stephanie Joy with all things Social Security and the law practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Ryan says, is waiting since November 12th for the DDS to start the reconsideration process comment. It was longer a few years ago. I've seen 15 months. That's extraordinary, but it was happening. I've had a few like that. I don't see them as long now. I have some that are just coming right from field office to bang, which is nice to see because it's been a few years where it was like frustrating and lots of senators had to, you have to wait for 20 senator, right? Well, we write to them. They want it on that form with the release. But so 3 months is getting a little long, I would say, because things have gotten a little better in the last year or so, but so you could find out and you could shoot a letter up to your senator. If you're, I don't know what area you're in, Ryan, but some states do a better job of workflow than other states because remember, it's the state that decides. They have to follow the federal law on the substance, but they get, it's their employees and all that business. So whether maybe they don't hire enough people or train them well, I don't know. Mike Pace donated. You guys, this is awesome because pretty soon we get to take another 1%, which usually will be a younger person that can't get attorney help. So just that seems to be the hardest area for someone to get help. And it really depends on whether, keep in mind, it's not every young person we can consider. If there's if you can see a path, if they get these proofs, I can see a path and increase their chances so much more of winning, even though they still have a very, very difficult case compared to everybody else, and there's still a good chance they won't win, but there's also a very better than usual chance for them that they could. Those are the kind of people we try to help because nobody wants to help them. Nobody with experience anyway, because they've learned that they can't keep the roof over their head very long if they do too much of those. So Mike says, you did me a great favor. Oh, super. What did I do? By providing me with a letter to send, to send SSA to get my record. Okay, which is very intense and meticulously reviewed. So you're correct. You have to document everything, get everything. Okay, did we email or something and I shot you over the form the way we have the things worded and attached to it? Sometimes people ask me for that, guys, if you ever need. That's a 3288. I think that's what you're talking about, right, Mike? So whenever someone asks for them, I just say email me and we'll definitely send you what we have that we use. And doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. You still get very reticent field offices and it goes to the field office, but that's the form we use, and it's the form that says, no, you cannot tell the person they can't order the whole file. And then you show them because their own form says you can't do that. You can't ask us for the whole file. You have to tell us what forms you want in that file. It's like a person's going to know what forms are in there to begin with if they see it, right? And they're not experts in the SSD law. And there is a POMS that says they can't do that. They can't restrict it. Yet their own form still says, we're not going to send it to you unless. I'm like, you are contradicting your own laws, rules, POMS. But anyway, that's super nice, Mike. Thanks. I appreciate that. RFC, Farhat says, okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is the RFC that the judge gave to the VE, whether he gave one or more, he made him so limited, those RFCs, that there were no jobs. And that so therefore, if there's no job ever mentioned with your VE and your judge, that's really positive for you. So that's awesome because that means the judge has no option he can't say, I'm going to find he can do X, Y, and Z job, even though the VE said he couldn't. It said that hypothetical person of the same RFC. So that's a good sign if that's what you're saying. So fingers crossed for you and for sticking out the process because I know it's really ugly. I might have mentioned this last week, but we got a win on a case for a young person. There's another reason why we could take another one. And just so you know the scope of how long it takes sometimes for a young person to prevail. This is an SSI case. He's probably been with me since COVID, I'm thinking. Maybe not. I don't know. It's been a long time because we did a whole initial case, denied at ALJ, denied at appeals council, and we refiled again last summer and we won. And the funny thing, I think I mentioned this last week, but it was so gratifying because I said to him when we started, because he was very, very disappointed in life and comes from really, really hard places, very, very distrusting of everyone that would say they would help, particularly lawyers that then just blew them up. So I said at the time, listen, I'll stick with you, but you have to stick with me, just treat everybody nice here and I will stick with you, And he did. And he stuck with it after we were denied because I said sometimes they're not convinced until they see it for a longer period of time, And so sometimes the case is going to end with a loss, but then we refile. With an SSI, you can always refile again and again and again. And it paid off. And we just filed again last summer. And the funnier thing about it too is that we got a denial in January, and I was getting all set to appeal it. And then he texts me a picture of we decided you're disabled. And I'm like, wow, we haven't even appealed. It was denied. I think that was a federal quality review of a denial that forwarded to an award. And I'm like, yeah, you never see that. You never see that. I mean, I guess you do, but that was amazing, particularly because it's a young person. My heart goes out to the young people. It goes out to everybody, but the young people who didn't even get to go 50 years before becoming disabled and had crappy childhoods with abuse and all this stuff. So that's my soft side. All right, moving on. It was a really fabulous, that whole thing. All right. Ryan says October 2025, I filed an appeal and it was sent back to the DDS. I think we're going through the same questions again. Did I go back up? I think I did. Sorry, guys. Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I did that. I was scrolling for something. Stephen Thompson says ruling in my favor. I don't know where we left off, Stephen. Now I'm scrolling up again. See Stephen. I don't see it, Stephen. All right. Oh, okay. I see Michelle says congrats to Stephen, so that's what we're talking about. Okay, very good. Rip is in the house. Hey, Rip. He says, hello, Stephanie. Asking for my neighbor. The ALJ cited 202.17 in his denial. Okay. I'm going to assume it's one of the non-disabled grids. But then said the claimant ability to perform light work has been impeded by additional limitations. Isn't that one of two? That means he's got another one. Internally inconsistent with 202. I don't have 202.17 in front of me, so I can't really speak to it. If you leaned on that to find my neighbor not disabled, so we're talking about your neighbor. All right, I don't have 202.17 in front of me, so who knows, maybe I could do a different video on that. But I will say this. There are times when we can't do the full range of light work because of certain limitations. There are still jobs we can do because there's a reduced set of light work that the person can do. And of course, if we can do light work, we're generally held to be able to do sedentary work. There could be reasons why that might, in a rare instance, not be true. I can walk all day, but I can't sit all day. All right. So, but sometimes a reduced, like the light job base is eroded, but not so much that there's not still occupations within it that exist in substantial numbers in the economy that one can do. So it is that might be at play here. I am not sure. That's why you really got to work hard to get rid of all light jobs. It's not always that easy. It depends on the judge too. Rayford's in the house and says my reconsideration took 3 weeks. That's awesome. Was it an award? If it was an award, that's awesome. Okay, so then Rayford was denied now on my hearing. So you had a reconsideration and they just rubber stamped the initial after 3 weeks. I've had a few of those. You could tell they weren't even they didn't even do the 2 requests for the records, and they're supposed to do that. Otherwise, then give us a chance to get them, and then they sometimes just blow it off and go tunk, tunk, tunk. I think they violated rules, but that's what the appeals are for. So they say we can't really do too much about that. Although I wonder if a reporting of it is not a bad idea. If on your reconsideration, I will bring this up too, guys. When you appeal for reconsideration, if you answer that there are no changes, your activities have not changed, because there's questions on the appeal form about that. You have no new conditions, your activities have not changed, and the symptoms and effects of any of your conditions have not changed, you're begging for another denial because they already decided that based on what you said, and you say it's not changed, you're not disabled. So never say that if you can think of one little thing that changed and got more restrictive, and invariably they do. It could even be, I'm sorry they did that in 3 weeks. And I'm not saying you did what I'm talking about now, but I do see people do it all the time. So I just wanted to bring it up on your reconsideration. And if you're going to go to appeal for an ALJ, you always think long and hard about what has slowly gotten worse. It's hard to recognize because you're living with yourself every day. You don't see the slow demise or diminishment. It could be as simple as I'm in that recliner chair probably an extra half hour a day. And you don't have to tell them it's only an extra half hour a day. You could say, I have to go recline more than I used to, more frequently to avoid pain increases. You don't have to give them specifics because you don't want to say it wrong, or you might not even be sure if it's what the exact amount is. It's so vague and nebulous. But if you know that you are kind of more in the recliner every day, you've gone to church less because it felt not as good, or whatever the case may be, then that's the kind of stuff that has something gotten worse as your activities changed. One of those preferably all of them have a change, but if not, you want at least the activities. There's not always a new diagnosis to add because that's like the third thing. There's those three things. Activities, have they changed? Do you have any new diagnoses or new impairments? And the third one is, has the condition changed? Not a new condition, but has the condition gotten worse or better? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Rip, by the way, for 202.17, I'm going to look it up when we're done. So if I see a way to get back to that question, in fact, I should take a little bit note. Pardon me, guys. Maybe I'll pop out a video if I can. Black 305 is in the house. Hi there, Black. How can we stop Social Security AI bot from looking at medical records in the future? I'm not sure you would want to. They've been doing it for years, and it's what pulls out some of the best information. Why would you want to rely on a stupid eyeball of a human who's tired and overworked, like an adjudicator, to miss something really important when automation, that could be searching for a word. That's AI. You have a PDF and you do the search function. You say, find all the words that say MRI, and then you get all your MRIs and then you can look at them closely. So I'm not sure why you would want to. It's to your betterment. I'm pretty sure automation is what helps them make sure they don't miss compassionate allowances. I think AI is what helps them determine if something off the bat could be a listing that they want to delve further into. Why would you want to stop improvement? Just asking. I'm guessing you think that it's just all in the negative. Like, oh, the AI bot sees I had a beer and it's going to stamp a denial. That I think is the furthest thing from the truth. I don't think that's true at all. Because remember, it's your robust evidence that's being considered. A lack of evidence can't be. AI doesn't find a vacuum. That's just what you didn't put in. It's going to help pull out the things that you did put in that could be meaningful and helpful. So I don't know that it's a bad thing. And it's going to be doing it much faster for people, so people aren't waiting for 3 years. I don't have a problem with it. Don't get me wrong. AI is scary in many ways. I know that there's so much we don't know, which is the scary part. And I think it can be very, very abused. I don't have concerns about that at all in this field. But yeah, elsewhere I do, for sure. Outfish is in the house. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but it's super sweet. It said, this is why Steph is the best A lawyer that cares. Very sweet, Outfish. Are you a client of mine? I love it when I don't know. It's kind of funny. Delia G's in the house. Testing because I am having problems posting a question. Michelle thought she posted one too, and then I didn't see it, and then I did. It came up after. So I don't know, maybe hitting the enter button right? But I see that one, Delia, and I also see Delia says, yeah, it's not letting me post question. Well, you are posting it. My husband is ill and will be off work for up to 1 year for treatment. Oh, yeah, prayers to you there, Delia, and your husband. His goal is to return to work and work till 67. He's currently going on 61. Wow, off work up to 1 year. That's a long time. I hope you guys are prepared. I'm glad you're in a better situation, perhaps, than you were last year. And you? Yeah, he's got 6 years to go. Yeah, because gosh forbid he has to take it at 62 there. That's like a 35% hit. If he takes early retirement at 62. I know sometimes people have to because they can't afford to not have work and they can't, wait till retirement. I wonder, is it something like you should file for disability for? Not something you necessarily have to decide now, and probably shouldn't, but if he is going to be disabled and out of work for 1 year, even after he goes back, he could file, if he does it in a timely fashion, for a closed period of disability, and he could get those 7 of those 5 months paid for. 7 months times whatever his benefit is. Let's say his benefit is $2,000. That's $14,000. Let's say his benefit's $3,000. That's $21,000. Gotta do my math here. So just a thought. Closed periods are just fine, and then he goes back to work and is off it. That would be kind of, I suppose, to get some of that money back. Obviously not the amount that he earns. He probably earns a nice chunk of change, but it helps, right? Purpose-Filled Life says, I'm getting conflicting theories on filling out adult function report for CDR, continuing disability review benefits, to either put a lot or not a lot of info about depression, anxiety, especially on questions 5 and 6. It really depends. What was so much is going to depend on what you were found disabled under. What were all your diagnoses then, Purpose? What is your age? The vocational profile, is it better now than it was when you applied, which makes you have a little bit of edge? I'm assuming you've kept up with all the different kinds of treatments you were doing before, or at least for all the different impairments you had before. If you were completely one on mental health, then you got to put a lot of that depression, anxiety in that function report because that's the only thing you have. But if you were And usually it's more than one. It's usually not, people are not usually perfect Adonis and they're just mentally so bad they can't work. It happens, but that's not the majority of people. So much really depends on your vocational profile, purpose, as well as what you prevailed on before. What were your existing problems that you prevailed on back at your comparison point, which is when you last won or last had a CDR. So that would, for your vocational profile, that's your age primarily. There's three things, but education and experience, but age is the big thing. I wonder if you change an age category since you won. That would be to your benefit, generally speaking. Stephen Thompson, thank you. You got, what is it like? Because the tax refunds are so great. What's going on here? That's awesome. Steve Thompson just donated $10. No, that was the second part. So I think DDS doesn't believe me and why they are doing a CE. No, it has nothing to do with believing you. I mean, that your records are not ironclad. That's all. It has nothing to do with believing you. They can't award you on what you say. It's nothing personal, Stephen, I promise. Wait a minute. Is there for some reason, Stephen, I thought you were with a PH. I know that's immaterial, but just testing my memory there. If your medical evidence does not establish enough to get you over the hump of disabled, then they will, this is ostensibly what it's about, give you a little help by giving you a free exam with a doctor who can look to see if those things are evident. It doesn't mean that the doctor is going to find enough to make it evident, but Steve goes on to say, I am a vet on TDIU for MDD. I believe that's major depressive disorder, panic attacks, PTSD, and anxiety, even with a federal judge ruling in my favor. Now, the federal judge, refresh me, Stephen, you got a remand. That federal judge did not say you were disabled or he would have done a reversal. He said you deserve a remand and to go back to the judge because the judge left something out of his leaving his way to you not being disabled, and the judge has to go and fill that in. Doesn't mean he's going to award you now, but he has to go back and do this other thing before he can make a decision of whether you meet something was left out that he didn't do. And you will find that in the federal district court's order, probably what the judge left out. All right. And apparently the appeals council didn't catch it either, right? Because you had to go to federal court. Because the appeals council could have remanded it too. That's why it's a beautiful thing. You can go to federal court, get yourself all the way out of the SSA system and have some more, I don't want to say unconflicted, but it's a different eyeballs. Different eyeballs in a different environment looking at it. Okay. So I wouldn't take it personally. It's not that they don't believe you. They can believe you, but it doesn't mean that you've met the required medical evidence, because what you say is not medical evidence, right? It's only what's in your medical records.